Okay, hello people, my name's Luke, I'm from AMS. What I would like to talk to you about today is change management. Now come on, don't be like that. Change management that is done well, that is done effectively, will actually make your job easier. It will reduce the risk around what you're doing at your aerodrome. It will also avoid some of those stuff-ups that we often see when there is a significant change introduced to an organisation. So firstly, what is change management? Why do we do it? This is a list of advisory circulars on the CASA website. You'll notice these are all 139 advisories, and in the list there is a AC 139-16. Now, if you want to find this list of advisory circulars, all I did was googled CASA advisory circulars, and this list was top of the list. And I'm going to click in here and have a look at this document. So in this document, on page 25 of the AC, there is a section that talks about the management of change. And initially, what I want to point out is this first paragraph. Where changes have occurred or are about to occur, the SMS process should assess the safety impact and address each concern appropriately through the system. Changes to the facility or management structure can be affected by, and then it goes on to give some examples of change that may happen at your aerodrome. So why am I talking about this today? One of the things that we see fairly commonly in the industry is a lack of change management, a lack of planning, a lack of risk assessment, and probably a lack of learning from our mistakes, just generally throughout the industry. And this is where change management can really help you out. So some examples of change management situations may involve, as the AC points out, amendments to legislation, replacement of aerodrome management personnel, an increase or decrease in the movement area capabilities. You may also see things like, perhaps changes to the airline operator that comes into your aerodrome, perhaps facility changes, procedural changes, anything like that, anything significant that's going to change the way you do business. So this AC is really useful. I'd encourage you to come and have a look at this advisory circular. What does change management look like in practice? Okay, so this document here is from our own change management procedure, and it's a closed loop process. These diagrams are fairly common around the internet. If you Google change management process and look for images, you'll probably get something that looks pretty similar to this. So, change. This is where we learn about something that's going to happen at our aerodrome. We assess the change, so we work out the consequences of what this change is going to involve. We then plan for the change. We communicate the change to our stakeholders and personnel. We implement the change, and then once we've implemented the change, we review the change. We see what went well and what did not go so well. This is probably the most important step for me, the review. It's basically taking your findings, the things that worked well, the things that did not work so well, and learning from those and implementing a process to better yourself or to better the organisation and to better prepare the organisation in future for similar changes. Okay, so how do you do it? How do you actually start the change management process? What I've done is I've drawn up this really simple Word document. It's not very complex, and it involves a cover sheet, and then on the second page we've got a log. So the cover sheet just basically summarizes the change. Okay, so in this example we've got a new airline coming to town. It's called ABC Airlines. I've put myself down as the coordinator of this change. We've got our date there, and we've considered this to be a moderate change. It's a good idea to have different categories of change. So you might have, low change, moderate change, and significant change. For example, some companies like to call it Category 1, Category 2, Category 3. Some companies A, B, C, so on and so forth. There's different ways of categorizing. Indicate the persons involved with the change. Describe the existing situation. So in this case, we've had the airline operating to the aerodrome for the last 4 years using Fokker 100 aircraft. What's the change going to involve? So we've got a new airline starting on March 1. It'll be operating a different aircraft, and this will bring about a change in procedures, training requirements, new equipment, and personnel that we're dealing with. Okay. External contacts involved in the change. There we go. So you can see that we've got a couple of external stakeholders involved there. Has a safety meeting been organised? And there's a little note here in this particular example. The company says that significant or moderate change must involve a safety meeting. So in this case, we've ticked yes, a safety meeting has been organised. And this can be a safety meeting with, your management, your AROs, your ground handlers, anyone that's kind of involved in the aerodrome operation. Risk assessment organised. Again, there is a little red text here. This particular organisation says that a risk assessment is mandatory when the change is considered to be significant or moderate. So again, a risk assessment has been organised. Don't overthink this. When you're having your safety meeting, it's fairly easy to do a simple risk assessment. One of the main problems that occurs with change management is people overthink it, they overcomplicate it, it becomes too hard, and then it gets shelved. So I would suggest you keep it fairly simple. Is regulator approval required? Not in this case. We don't have to tell CASA or any other sort of government organisations of what we're doing. Change closure date. The airline was actually kicking off in March, though our change closure date finishes around April. Because look, there can be changes following the execution of the new airline or the start of the new airline operations. So this particular closure date runs just a little bit after the airline actually kicks off, because you may see changes after the fact. Change approval manager is myself, and we've put in a review date. So as I showed you before, on our little change management diagram, it is important to review the change. So we've specified a date here of the 1st of April to do that review. We can't go any further here. We can't document our findings. We can't put any action plans in place to do those findings because it's not the 1st of April yet, so we've left this blank. On the next page, we've got a log. So these logs are the actual changes identified by the staff. So you can sit down, have a bit of a chat about it with your staff, and in this case we've identified that the check-in computers will need to be replaced. So that's the first change. We've put an action plan in place. So we've said that Mike needs to organise new equipment to come to site, and this is due before the 20th of January 2018. It's currently open. Okay, next one, just for an example, we need to get some training for the baggage handlers and airport operations staff. So John Smith has got an action here to go and liaise with the training department at ABC Airlines. This is also due on the 20th of January 2018, and it's currently open. Another example there is some line markings that need to be looked at on the apron. Obviously we've got a different aircraft. This may involve different line markings going in, or the existing line markings may be suitable, but there is an action there for someone to talk to the designer of the parking bays. Okay, Now those are just examples. Obviously it's going to be a lot more complex than that, so you would continue log over the next page and capture as many changes as you can think about. Make sure that each one of those changes has an action plan and a follow-up so that we're all prepared for the kickoff in March. As I said, this document is a Word document. It's really simple. You could do this on Excel. You could do it on a electronic database. Different organizations will do change management different ways. AMS, personally, we use an electronic database or an electronic SMS to manage our change management. But like I said before, don't overthink it. If you're only a small operation, it is perfectly acceptable to have perhaps an Excel-based change management process or Microsoft Word or something like that. What you do need to do is keep it as live as possible. What do I mean by that? This document should be updated regularly. Perhaps every couple of days you'll need to update this document and keep it live. You may print this document out every few days, stick it up on the whiteboard or the notice board so everyone can see it and everyone's aware of where we are in the process. Things may change as you go. So for example, Mike might have organized for the new equipment. So we might do an update here. Mike has organized the new equipment and it will be coming to site on the 15th of January. Okay. So we've done a little update there. We might just put that in red so everyone can see it. So Mike's advising everyone of what's actually happening with this step. So that's what I mean with it being a live document, is put updates in it, keep it up to date, and make sure everyone's familiar with the current step or the current process of where we're at. Okay, lastly what I want to do is talk about the review process again. So as I said before, I personally consider this review to be the most important part. It's basically taking into account everything that you've done throughout the change management process, working out which things worked really well as part of your change, and working out which things did not work so well as part of your change, learning from your mistakes and fixing it so when you do it again in the future, it works really well. So what I'm going to show you guys now is our own change management checklist. So here is the change management checklist that we run when we're considering a new airline operating to one of our aerodromes that we operate. This checklist, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's perfect. It is certainly a work in progress, but every time we conduct the review of our change management, remember that step review, we improve the checklist. So we take our things that worked well, we take our things that did not work so well, and we incorporate them and improve them in our checklist. So I'll scroll down here. Feel free to take notes or pause the video if you want to, just to see how we do it. That might generate some ideas for your aerodrome and for your organization. This checklist is quite handy, very handy. So if you've got any questions about change management, if you want some further advice, feel free to drop us a line. Drop onto our website. You can contact us via our website. Certainly happy to give you over the phone advice about change management, or we can get a little detailed if you need to. Okay, so thanks for your time today. Appreciate this. If these videos are handy for you, certainly sing out, let us know that they work well for you and you want some more. We're happy to do some more, but obviously we will do the videos subject to demand. So thanks guys, thanks for your time. Cheers.